Well, today I wanted to tell you a little bit about, it's about testimonials, internet reviews, and getting more referrals. They all tie together. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Got to make sure which button is okay. The more you get of of all of these things, the more business you will get. And that's the bottom line. And all of these are pieces of a puzzle. When you put the testimonials, the internet reviews, that's all about a reputation management. And then what does that matter to you? Well, it matters because you have to take care of your reputation online, or else it can cost you your business. And I'll give some examples in a few minutes. But one of the things I wanted to tell about is there are 5 types of customers. There's those that are satisfied. They say, "Oh, you did a good job. Thank you so much." And they'll probably use you again. There's the loyal customers that will use you every time they can. They will tell others as the subject is brought up. The third one is evangelical. They will tell their friends and they will give examples of how great you are, and they're exuberant about what they're telling. The fourth one that you really want is the fanatical. They're also called fans. They will tell many people about you. They feel that you are more than friends, and it shows when they are talking about your business. And they really do want to take care of you. The bad one you don't want is the unsatisfied one. They're the most dangerous of all because they will become the most fanatical in damaging your business if it's not taken care of. However, with reviews and things like that, you can get those unsatisfied ones that wrote a bad review about you. You can turn that around so it becomes something that's going to help you for the future. Excuse me. One of the things that we're going to talk about is getting and using. One of the things everybody tells me about is the word of mouth advertising is the best form of advertising in the world. Well, it is. But you know what? I love that testimonials, if you can get them to tell you that, then it allows you to spread the message instead of waiting for the customer to do it. Okay. Now, when someone says something that you would like to consider as a testimonial or a review, ask to quote them on that. Ask them to give you a Google review or a Facebook review. And then if you are asking to quote them on it, then you write it up and then send it to them to approve it. Now, a couple things happens when you are asking people for this. When you ask for testimonials, you'll find that most of them won't even write a review unless they have had a negative experience with you. So you've got to be proactive to asking them for testimonials, even if they don't volunteer it at the time. You need to ask them. And it's all about good customer service, really. And that is finding out what they felt about the service that you and your company provided. Okay. And then sometimes you want to do a survey to ask open-ended questions. Not, rate us 1 through 5, that's okay. But, you want to have open-ended questions so you'll find out more about them. If they give you a 4-star and you don't ask them why, you're going, well, what happens? Now, there is legitimate people who actually will never, ever, ever give a 5-star review because they believe nobody's perfect. Understand that and don't take offense to that. That's okay. I had to teach a class in front of the head of the U.S. Corporation of Toyota some years ago. And he was so adamant. I worked for a company that we were doing some market surveys of when they bought their Toyota cars. They would do a survey, and the car dealership would do a survey, and they couldn't figure out why they couldn't get above a 4.5, 4.7 review. And one of the things I had to go in and talk to them about is there are some people who just won't believe that you're perfect because they believe nobody's perfect, even themselves. So that's what they do is you'll get a 4-star, and not to worry about that, because, well, I'll tell you in a minute about some of those things. Now I'm going to tell you there's 9 different ways. I think there's 9, 4, 8. Okay,
Wow.
there's more than that. There's 10 different ways that you can get testimonials. There are different types of testimonials. I'm not going to go into all of them, but you can see that there are different ways of doing it. And a quote testimonial is what I was just talking about, of asking them for that testimonial. And so you want to do that. You want to ask them, if you can, to do that. And that gives you the quote testimonial. Quote testimonials are generally used on a website, but you can ask them to do that same quote on Google and Facebook as well. Now, there's lots of others there. I'm not going to go into them, but I wanted you to see this. Now, I'm going to skip past a couple of these slides because while they're good, I only have a half an hour. And so this is, I wanted to ask people, hey, do you use this or not? Your service was great. Can I tell you, don't use that. Don't use it. Here's why, is if you can get them to say something about what makes it great, I saved over $200 on the tires, then that makes a bigger impact. It is a better testimonial or review when they tell the story. Your service was great is, I hope so. It's a platitude, and you don't want to use platitudes because everybody can use platitudes. When you went out of your way to help me, well, I hope so. If you can say, well, I hope so to anything, it's a platitude. So don't ever utilize those and try to promote them. Use something like this. Not only did you drop me off when I needed to get back to the office, you picked me back up when my car was done. That makes a big difference. You're telling a story, and because stories, when you tell stories, they sell. The others are just simply comments. I recommend you to my friends, but we'll ask them why. Okay. And then if they give you a platitudinal testimonial, ask them more about it. Ask them why. Ask them, what made us better than what they had in the past. Now, going on, how internet reviews are very important. People are using it now to find businesses online, and more people are finding the businesses online than they are in going down the street, unless they've already established a rapport with someone. It's important that you get listed on all the internet sites, and especially getting reviews on Google and Facebook. The others are okay, but those 2 count. They're the number 1 and number 2, and those 2 take up 98% of all of the testimonials that people look for. Now, that's across the board. Restaurants probably ought to be looking at a couple of others. Golden Spoon, Yelp, and there's another one, I can't think of the name of it right now. But those also are designed on restaurant type things. Well, if you're dealing with somebody who's going to be in your home, you can look at some of the others. But even on restaurants, number 1 is still Google, number 2 is still Facebook. Even though those others are there, they've become bigger, but they never ever get above 20% combined. So you need to be paying attention to that. Now, one of the interesting things is that last thing there, 88% of consumers trust online reviews as much as a personal recommendation. That is important to understand. So and it doesn't matter if you're a brick and mortar business now, or you're an online business or a virtual business, it doesn't matter. You've got to get the reviews. Okay. Now here's some reviews. Now I pulled this as one off of Yelp, I believe, and I wanted to show you this. You've got to have internet reviews. This one is good because he's got 3 reviews in there, and it gave some other information. Interesting enough, Sausalitos did not have any Google reviews that were good. They only had bad ones because they were promoting only going to this. And they only had 3 here. So that's not very good either. Okay, let's take a look at the internet reviews. where they're found. Google, Google Plus, it used to be called Google Plus. It's Google My Business is the #1 area people look for it's when they go to Google. They're looking there, they're looking on the Yelps, great. Yelp is a big one that is out there, but it's not for every type of business. Restaurants do well on Yelp, but other stores don't do very well. If you're an insurance person, ignore Yelp. If you're doing so, you've got to pay attention to who they are serving the most. Now, Yelp will tell you they serve everybody. Well, they do, but it's only 2% of the whole market that they serve, with the exception of restaurants and a couple of other things that they look at. Entertainment's another one that they do big. Okay, Facebook is #2 in where you should be found. TripAdvisor, Zagat, that was the other one I couldn't think of. Oh, Urban Spoon, there's Golden Spoon, there's local media sites that you want to get on. Now, local media sites can be like Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 13. They all have a site there. You should look and see. But again, they're not going to be as important as Google and Facebook are. Okay, and then if you have industry-specific ones, try to get to that. Craigslist is good for some, but Angie's List is really strong for contractors. And so you got to pay attention to that. And so if there's an industry specific, get on that as well. Then of course, community sites such as Chamber of Commerce is a really good one to get on. And then of course, you want to have reviews on your own website. If you're not doing it yourself, you're doing yourself a big disservice. Now here's what Google encourages you to do. They remind your customers to leave feedback on Google. Now, Google, in their SEO, they look at both Google and Facebook, because both of those, the person has to sign in themselves to give a review. And that's why it's important that you have the customer give that review. And so because of that, Google pays attention to both the Google and the Facebook reviews. And then they score it, and it's part of your SEO score that brings up your websites, your name, your map, and all of that. And so you want to pay attention to that. But get them to, but as Google puts, simply reminding customers that it's quick and easy to leave feedback on Google on mobile and desktop can help your business stand out from sites with fewer reviews. That's exactly from Google what they have said. Okay. Now, also become an active presence on Google and respond to reviews. If you don't respond to the reviews, you will have problems with it, and that's something you need to address. Mainly because if you get a great review, then that's wonderful. But if you go in and just simply say thank you, and it was a 10-line review of telling how wonderful you were, you're not really communicating with us. We're working with social media here. This is part of social media. You've got to be social back to them when they leave you a great review. It is important to understand there's a formula. If you get a 10-line review, you should be doing no less than 6 lines in response. Now, I'll give you an example. There's VR Junkies up in Harriman. I worked with them, and I work with them, and they got this review, and this lady was just raving about this birthday party for her son or daughter, and then but they had grandma there as well, and he got everybody involved, including grandma. Grandma was there on in her wheelchair with goggles on it and her things in her hand, and she is fighting, and she's having a lot of fun with it. And they talked about that. Well, the gentleman who owns VR Junkies, he turned around and he said, "Oh, it was so much fun, and Grandma was a great sport to go along, but she really got into that, didn't she? And we really enjoyed having you." It got a lot more birthday parties for him. he got a lot more business because he was able to talk to them a bit more. That's what social media is about. And internet reviews are the same thing. They are a part of social media. So respond to your reviews. And then make sure your business information is verified. There's a lot of places, like I was talking to a company the other day, and they used a different phone number on Google than they did on Facebook, than they did on Yelp, on TripAdvisor. And I showed them on their Facebook page or on their SEO from Google that they were being marked down because it wasn't the same phone number everywhere. When Google is asked to give information for somebody, they go out and check about 70 or 80 different sites. And if your information is different on every one of those sites, it doesn't know which one to give. So what does it do? It puts you down the list. So unless they're asking for Salsalitos, for example, they will then not find, when you say Mexican restaurants in Riverton, they will be down below all of the other Mexican restaurants because theirs were correct and yours was not. So make sure all your information is exactly the same. And if you're wanting more information about that, knowing about that, let me know. Okay, we talked about how you need to make sure your information is verified, but you also need to do that in the Google because we had one customer, let me go back, we had one customer that he got a really terrible review. Turned out there was a company, he's a coffee company here in Sandy, and there's another coffee company just outside of Boston that has the same name. And it was that coffee company he was really complaining about because he had never been to Salt Lake. Well, you got to verify that information. And there are things you can do. And I'll talk a little bit about it in just a minute. Okay. When customers use Google Maps, they'll be able to see an icon that will direct people to seeing the views of your internet reviews. Tell them about that. Show them where they can find that, because also there it has the button where you can add a review of your own if you're visiting there. Now, Google reviews help the search results. I'm going to just go through a bunch of these real quick. So how do you get more reviews? Ask them before they leave. Now, I have a customer here in town that he had me make up business cards. On one side of the business card, it says, leave me a review on Google. On the other side of the business card, it says, leave me a review on Facebook. And he hands that to them, and it has his name and his, his company name and the link to get to the review page on both of those on there. And it has his phone number, and it has other information too, but it's mainly for getting them to leave reviews. He doubled how many reviews he got in the first week. He now averages 6 reviews a week. And for a company of his type, that is really, really good. Okay, so ask them before they leave. Okay, give them a card. Oh, there's the card. Sorry. You want to get that. And then you can also send them a reminder card. We've got a auto mechanic shop that their software allows them to send a card to them to say thank you. Well, we re-engineered that card so that when they print it and send it, it has information of how to do a review for them. And then also, if there was any problem with your service, please let us know. And here's my direct phone number to the owner of the company. And that makes a big difference for people. You can also send emails. You can put a link on your website. You can also put links in your emails. You can use a service that contacts and reminds customers that have just been into your business. We do that for a lot of companies, and that helps them get a lot more reviews. I've got a dentist who went from having 4 reviews a year to 4 a week. and he should be really getting about 10 a week, but they forget to put the information in to the computer sometimes, so it doesn't always work. Okay, but you get it. You know, what you put in, you'll get out. Last thing here is send a form for them to fill out. If you don't want a review online, great. Send them a form, either email or by mail, and have them fill it out and send it back to you. And then you can put it on your website. And that works fine too. Okay, now what happens if the review isn't as good as you wanted? This is important. Okay, so the first thing is you must respond to them. And I don't mean just putting something up that you think is wrong. Call them. Find out more about the story. If they had a terrible time, well, then you need to know about it. But immediately do that. I have a customer here in town that is a printing shop, and they've had this customer for many years. And she came and got some printing of brochures, and after she left a terrible review, a 2-star review. And the owner called me and said, "Boy, what do we do about this? This is going to ruin my business." And I says, "Have you called her yet?" "No, I don't know. What should I ask?" And I said, "Let's get on the phone and I'll ask." And that's what we did. We got on the phone, and I found out that what it was his brand new secretary at the front desk. When this lady came in, she was on the phone. The secretary was on the phone. And this lady came in and she was waiting, and the girl put her finger up, giving her the 1 minute, just a minute. She was talking to a girlfriend and making arrangements for that night to go out personally. Nothing to do with business. Well, after 6 minutes of this girl doing this, she got quite angry about it. When she finally hung up the phone after 6 minutes, she mentioned it to the secretary, and she says, "Oh, well, it was my girlfriend. She was on the phone before you came in." And then she went and got the lady's order, and the lady left. But she gave him a 2-star review. I got on the phone with the customer. We figured out what was going on. And then we said, "Would you mind if we go back and retrain this girl? Because she's really new. We'd like to retrain her. And would you test her for us? We'll give you a free set of our deluxe business cards that you're probably just about out of, that you've used in the past. We'll give them to you free this time if you'll test her this way." And she said yes. So we did that. He got his business coach to come in with him, and they sat down with her, and they taught her how to respond to customers better, about good customer service. They did this for a couple of weeks, about once or twice a week. And when they felt confident, they called the lady, got her to send in her information so they could print up the business cards. You know what? That 2-star review has gotten him more business than all of the 5-star reviews that he's had in the past. The reason why? Because of how he responded to it. He put on there, "I am so sorry. I found out from you," and he told the story where she wasn't telling much of the story. And then he says, "And we've rectified this." And then she went on and added to it and told them she is so impressed with this company because they took care of a problem that she thought would never be taken care of. This is how reviews can be mitigated. It still stood as a 2-star review originally, but then she put in a 5-star review verifying or telling people that they took care of me. And to customers looking at reviews, that's important. They want to know that they're listened to, that you're willing to take care of problems when they happen. Now, verify the concerns, make changes to fix the problem, always be communicating with that customer, and be authentic. Always be trustworthy, be recent, be relevant, and then you will have a review that'll turn itself around so that it will help you. Now, there are times when you have legitimately screwed up and the person doesn't care. He went and had somebody else take care of something. There's not a lot you can do about it other than explain that it was, trying to explain. And I've helped people do that. So if you have something like that, let me know. Be glad to help you with that. Now, here's something you should never do. Should never ignore a bad review. It will stay with you for long term. Now, one of the other things is with Yelp, if you don't know this, Yelp, if you get a bad review, will always be in the top 3 uh, reviews that they show, always, unless you pay them a monthly subscription charge they'll move it down out of sight, but it'll still come up. They don't allow the customers to change it either. So that's one of the reasons I don't really play with Yelp at all. If somebody wants to do it, that's fine. I'll help them with it. But be careful with Yelp. Yelp is the old Yellow Page company. And if you don't know how the old Yellow Page company worked, they were always looking for a way to get more money out of people. And it was all about money driven. And that's what this is as well. Now, do not ever, ever say anything disparaging about the customer. Always hold the customer, even if they were wrong, in high regards when you're responding. Always take the high road. They may, tell people bad things about you, but you always say, well, we're really sorry about this. We'd love to get this taken care of. We had one of these kind of problems with a customer at Pratt & Lefevre, and we were able to help get them through that. And it's now up to a 5-star review. Now, never, ever make up something or pay someone to write reviews. There's a auto shop here in Salt Lake, and they had somebody come in and say, hey, I'll get you 300 reviews over the next 2 or 3 months. It'll cost you X amount of dollars. Sorry. They bought it. Google saw that people from India and Indonesia and Taiwan and Russia were all giving these great reviews, but had never left their country, because they know when people leave, Well, even though they had some legitimate reviews in there as well, Google shut off their review page and put up a notice saying, due to fraudulent reviews on this page, we will no longer take reviews for this customer. Facebook did the same thing. It shut them down. They suddenly saw a drop in their traffic and people wanting to do business by over 80% drop off. They only had to work with 20 now. They're out of business. It's terrible to see because they did this. Now, always when you're doing things, use language to explain what happened. And so never use jargon that you have in your, from your, whether it be a shop or had again, another printing company, and they started talking about their offset press, and, it was a problem with a plate. People don't care. People want to know that you're taking care of them, so explain it in plain 4th grade English, okay? And never, ever, 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 ever lie, okay? That will always come back to bite you, okay? All right, now, do you have a plan? Do you know how to do this? I'm just about finished here, so I'm going to be skipping through this, but you've got to have a plan of how you're going to do this. Know that you need to go in and do the things you need to by answering their reviews, good or bad, okay? Now, this is a chart that shows about stars. 92% of people will go to a 4-star or above. You know why there's not 100%? There are some people who will actually only go to a 5-star review, but there are 17% who will never go to a 5-star only review. They want to see you in the optimal area 4.5 to 4.8. And so that's where you need to be. Okay. Getting more more referrals. This will bring in more word of mouth marketing, but it will also get you it so that you can share these on your social media to other customers. And you know, there's lots of things here. I'm not going to go through all of this because I am done with time and I don't want to waste any more of it. Well, or I don't want to use more of your time that is very valuable. So I will put these things up here. The key with a lot of this is just simply take care of your customers and use great customer service. Most of the problems that people have is not because of something or bad reviews, isn't because somebody did something bad with a product or service. It's usually something someone did to the customer. And you want to create those loyal and fanatical customers out of everyone. And the only way of doing that is going out of your way. Treat them like their family and give them more than they expect. You know, always heard of, you always under promise and over deliver. That's where this comes into play. Well, I'm Boyd Peterson, and I'm glad you came today.
Boyd, thank you very much. Let me make a couple of comments real quickly.
Okay.
You said always to use language. What kind of language? It's not foul language, I'm sure.
So you always want to use the language that they will understand and that the customers.
Well,
Like
I know that sometimes some of my customers only understand foul language.
Well, and if that's the case, I would still never go to that level. Okay. We had a customer who he's a Caucasian guy who works with a lot of people from other nationalities because he's a repair shop as well, an auto repair shop. And a lot of his customers in West Valley are Hispanic or from other South American countries. And he's had several times when people come in and they're just frantic and they're upset and they're using as much foul language because that's the only language they know in English. And he has a person who is a service writer who speaks their language better so he can talk to them. And he stepped back from being the service writer to going back to being one of the head mechanics. And his business has flourished. But the key is you got to talk in their language. So, and if you're drawing people in from that community, you've got to be able to speak their language too. Not the language of profanity, but a language that will let people know that you're not stepping to their level, stooping to their level, sorry, but you're also trying to raise them up.
So let me make another comment real quickly. Boyd said, talk to you about this negative review that we got from a lady, and she put it on Google. And Boyd turned that right around. So we've got a 5-star review on Google now because of that. And actually the lady, she got mad at me because we sent her stuff on the internet through an email rather than sending it to a secured site. And then she blamed me because Google lost some of her documents on Google Drive. And she blamed us for erasing them, which we never did. And so she refused to pay us, and we insisted that she pay us. So she gave us a bad review, and Boyd went in and turned that around, and I'm grateful for that.
One of the other things that she did, and this was, I think, that was a big thing to her, but the bigger one was that Marvin had done her taxes, and he said that she wouldn't owe anything but this much to the state. Well, the state came back and told her no, that Marvin was wrong and that she owed $450 more. So then there's penalties and interest, and she just flipped out. What she didn't do was she didn't contact us to find out. She got mad. She wrote the 1 or 2 star review, and she paid her money to the state. When Marvin found out about it through Ron, Marvin went back and he says, no, the state's wrong. And he went to them and they refunded all of her money.
But she never wrote a counter review because of it.
No, she just simply, well, she did change from, it was all those different things that she kept compounding what she thought were problems, but she wasn't communicating with us.
Right.
And that was the big thing. And once she got communication with us through Ron and I, then suddenly she realized, oh, we weren't doing things wrong. She just wasn't letting us know when she thought something was wrong.
Yeah, but she still won't work with us.
That's okay. She changed her review and we're okay with that. And, let her go her way. There are some times when you have to fire customers.
That's really true. Now, let me tell you a couple of things that I think we need to get reviews on. First off, Jacob Erickson, for those that are working with us that have a right to know that, he was upset when we sent him his bill for his taxes. He says, I didn't know it was going to cost me this much. And then he got his tax refund. He says, I've never gotten this much money back. And he was absolutely ecstatic, actually jumping up and down because he was so happy he got that much money back. He'd never had that happen before. So I'm thinking of asking him for a review.
Well, he would be a great case study type person because he can talk about how he's always gotten this much and, and all of a sudden it was costing him more and he got really upset with us. And then when he found out how much he was going to get back because of the quality of service he was getting from us, that's when he realized we are worth every penny that he had put into us.
And that's exactly correct. And then we've got Clay Neves, who most everybody in this group here knows is going through a situation right now where, Lindsay just dropped off, where he understands what we do and we did it for him, but his wife would never sign it. So he just put it off and put it off and put it off. And now he's got a legal situation where he needs to do this. But because we've already done the documents and they're dated the right date, he's safe. All we have to do just now is just get them signed. So he doesn't have to worry about somebody taking his assets because he's going through a legal situation now where they may have to do that. And I don't want to tell too much without Boyd's or without Clay's permission to do so. So Boyd, if you get a chance to talk to him, just say, Ron mentioned a little bit of it, was hesitant to mention too much, and ask him if he'd be willing to write us a review maybe.
Good.
So those are 2 cases that I think are just very good cases.
Yeah, they would be good things that would represent how well we do.
And then I think that I'm going to also get Adriana Vergara Lopez to do it because we gave her a recommendation to a CPA and she thinks that he's absolutely marvelous, has done a great job for her.
Good.
So those are areas that we have helped out and we're going to continue to help out. So I just thought you guys might be interested in those situations.
Good.
But Boyd, if you wouldn't mind talking to Clay just a little bit and say, Ron mentioned it a little bit, was hesitant to mention too much because I don't want to break any confidences. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I'm supposed to talk to him at 10:30 today, so in a few minutes.
All right. Very good. So Joe and Tiffany, do you have any comments before we sign off? Thank you, Boyd. Boyd, let's try to get some more people on. How about doing this again, either on the 26th or in the first week of June?
Actually, Jim is doing it this afternoon as a full hour in our business success conference. And so he will.
Jim
Carroll.
Oh, I see. We ought to ask him to come and be part of this.
Yeah. So anyway, he's doing that this afternoon at 3:30 in the business success conference.
Okay.
So in fact, I'm going to be teaching 2 classes this afternoon. I'll be teaching one about the top 8 social media sites and how to use them for your business and whether you should use them for your business. Then the other one is going to be all about tips and tricks on how to use hashtags and other things to help build your following, your tribe, your getting more followers. We're going to talk
Cool.
about groups. We're going to talk about using a business versus a fan page on Facebook. We're going to talk about hashtags is the big one we'll talk about because it can get a lot of things without people having to do a lot. But it will also be talking about groups and how to share to groups and how groups can work for you. And so that's this afternoon that I'll be
So,
teaching those.
Joe and Tiffany, you may want to invite some of your contacts to come to that. It'd
Yeah.
be
I will
very-
do my best to jump in and out when I can. I've got a pretty busy
Yeah.
meeting schedule today, but I did want to real quick to just thank you, Boyd, for your time. I didn't think it was a waste in any way, shape, or form.
Good.
I think it was great information, and I'm glad that I made it this morning.
Well,
And
thank
I
you.
will try to be jumping on this evening for your business success classes.
Good.
And on that note, I've got to let you gentlemen go because I've got a meeting coming up myself.
Okay.
I'll see you
later.
at 11 o'clock, Tiffany.
Yep.
All right.